the ocean.
I love the smell of that salty air. We're standing in an intertidal ecosystem, a place that is sometimes above and sometimes below water depending on the tides.
Now that we've observed how competition for a resource can affect where organisms live, let's take a look at this intertidal ecosystem and see if we can spot a pattern of where organisms live in relation to the resources here.
The tide pools are full of organisms. Let's go check them out.
There are also organisms living outside the tide pools. Do you see how organisms with the hard shell are living out of the water, like these mussels? And softer body organisms, like the sea anemone, are fully submerged in the water?
Both the mussels and anemones eat things that live in the water. However, there isn't enough room in the tide pools for both of these organisms to fit.
Competition for space has resulted in some of these mussels trying to find some free space and living outside of the tide pools where they can survive temporarily because they have a hard shell that helps them retain water inside.
Wow. So competition for a resource,
in this case, space,
has resulted in a pattern of organisms living in different areas of the intertidal ecosystem. But wait, if mussels can only survive out of water temporarily, then how do they live outside the tide pools? Wouldn't they dry up and starve?
That's a really good question, Landon, and the answer has to do with the tides. The rising and falling of the tides is controlled by the gravitational pull of the moon. So where we're standing right now is going to be underwater in a couple hours when the high tide comes up.
Oh, that's right, we're in the intertidal zone. Right now it's low tide, so the mussels are out of the water. But in a few hours, when the water rises, they'll be underwater again.
Exactly, and here in California, we can have a difference in tidal height of 8 feet between a low and high tide. So then when it's high tide again, the mussels will be underwater and can open up their shells and feed.
Cool. So Maddie, if we went further out into the ocean and underwater, would we see more patterns of organisms living in different areas due to competition for resources?
Let's all answer that question together.
We know that you can't jump in the water with us right now, so we made a virtual reality video for you all to watch on your phones and Chromebooks. You can pretend to be a scuba diver and look in any direction. That's what we'll do on our first dive. It's just for exploration, for you to get comfortable what it's like underwater and look for some of those patterns about where organisms live. Then we'll come up for air. We'll talk about some scientific data sampling techniques and form hypotheses. On our second dive, we'll be real scientific divers using tools to collect data that you guys can analyze. All right, let's dive in.